It's a historic series, so it makes sense that we'll race a historic layout. It might not be the 67 version of Silverstone, but it'll do as we get ready to watch round one of the Lotus 49 Grand Prix Legends Series. And you'll see it all live here on the Global Sim Racing channel. I am Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Joseph Black. Behind the scenes is our director, Christian Duploy, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. For those not familiar with this older layout of Silverstone, let's head on down to our track guide. Welcome to Silverstone. Most famously known for being the first circuit to host a round of Formula One, this place has since become synonymous with British motorsports. Hosting everything from sports cars to touring cars to open wheels and even motorcycles, it's a track that fits a wide variety of vehicles. With 5 different layouts to choose from, you've got a little something for any level of racing. The longest of those layouts boasts 17 turns over more than 3 miles or 5 kilometers, so it can take a bit to get around it, even in higher-powered machinery. Its main characteristics are the long straights, swift corners, and general lack of elevation change. Its most famous set of turns is definitely the Maggots-Beckett sequence, in which anything with high downforce finds itself challenged with the rapid changes of direction. While there is a fair bit of paved runoff and quick corners like Copse and Stowe, the time lost from going off can be costly. There's a few turns with opportunities for overtaking, including Vale, Abbey, and Priory, but in cars with less horsepower, expect the slipstream to be where many attempt to get by. The Hangar Straight is perhaps the most notorious for draft battles to erupt. All in all, this versatile racetrack located just northwest of London provides both history in its roots and action on the tarmac. The huge number of British fans that typically attend events are seldom left wanting. Well, Joseph, like we said, this is a version that has now been gone for actually a while, which is scary to me because this is what I grew up used to.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's of course an old layout of Silverstone, and it's one where it's sort of got all the characteristics of an old circuit. There's more straights, there's more opportunities for drivers to just relax a little bit down some of the straights, take out of Woodcote, for example, and down to Copse, the first corner, and out of Copse and straight to Maggots. That's one corner in the space of about maybe a kilometre or two. We've got a 3.12 mile circuit, or 5 kilometres just above. Opened in 1948, of course, just before the dawn of the Formula One Championships in Towcester, Northamptonshire. We've got 16 corners the drivers will be traversing today.
It'll be a test. It'll be a fast test, that is for sure. But as we mentioned, it's the first of the season. So if we look at last season's champion, well, he's returned to the top. Mick Claridge is once again your title holder, and we'll see if he can defend that crown. I think the biggest surprise was he had said that he was going to be kind of stepping away for a bit, and basically came back for a full season and really put any doubts to rest on that one. So big congrats to Mick being our F1 champion in this latest season. But season 4 here, who is going to be the last one of 2025, as we take a look at the race details for today. Like we had said a couple times, we're the first of 12. It's going to be 20 laps around here. It is an open setup series, so drivers will be able to try and tweak and tune to their liking. Now, there's no wings to worry about, but there's definitely aspects of the car that can help you drive it quicker around the circuit. They don't have a spare car, though, so if you get any sort of damage, you're either going to just have to drive through it or stop in pit lane, and considering there's no scheduled pit stops, you're not likely going to finish well. They do have incident limits. They'll get a drive-through penalty at 17 incidents and a disqualification at 25 incidents. So drivers do have to try to stay within the boundaries, since this is still a modern F1 track and you can wind up running off into the paved runoff. But before we get to the racing itself, they have to keep it within those boundaries in qualifying, Joseph, and it looks like the drivers are just starting that now.
Yeah, they are, and well, they're not going to get much of an opportunity to see what they can do, but they will have had all of their warm-ups, all of their practices focused around, I think, mainly just getting this first lap just comfortably up there towards the top of the standings. That you're at 5 minutes and 39 seconds left in the session already, so we've had a good start to it, and we'll get the opportunity to see some of the times flow in across the course of this session. They're probably going to find that the first few laps are going to be a few banker laps, maybe some laps that are lower than expectations, but then it's all going to ramp up right at the very end.
Certainly, and they only get 2 laps that will count in this for those not familiar. So you have to make sure that you are clean on at least one of those. Like you said, a banker lap, well, you only get one, essentially, as we hop on board with McClarich. And, I mean, who says that iRacing weather is unrealistic, Joseph? We got a nice overcast day here in Silverstone.
Yeah, I mean, you'd expect that sort of thing around at the Silverstone circuit, and that's exactly what we've got. The rain appears to be staying away for now, but of course it's starting to threaten, and some of the drivers will be potentially going straight for a push lap, not necessarily a banker, simply because the rain might not stay away. It's all to play for, it's all to be considered, and well, of course, we're riding on board with the reigning champion Mick Claridge, who heads around the final few corners.
Before anybody gets too excited, obviously we do not have rain enabled for the Lotus 49s yet. That's only in the 79s currently. But I do look forward to that day, because this is already a difficult car, and I'm sure it'll be even crazier once we start to get precipitation added to the mix. But Kevin Verbruggen, currently your pole sitter over Nick Kaki, and it's by less than a tenth of a second. Sequeiro back there, another less than a tenth of a second. And look at this, it continues to drop as now Zamaloa is your fastest driver, but we don't have a time from Mick Claridge. Is he going to be able to beat all of them?
Yes, he's going to certainly hope so, as it is Zamaloa up at the top, and Verbruggen not too far behind, just 0.08 of a second, which is small margins in these cars. Now Mick Claridge up to the line. Is this going to be the best of all? It's a 41.1, and well, it's going to be... That's not a bad lap time, all things considered, but there is certainly time to find Seb Teixeira up to the line with a 41.7, so 0.6 off him. And, well, there's some strong lap times thrown in at the moment. Mick Claridge's time was enough for that third place, but it's looking like a 40 is going to be the benchmark time.
Nick Kaki currently sitting in 4th position, 0.152 off of the pole time. My goodness, it is tight up there at the top of the field. Drivers are going to have to really just have the most precise of inputs to try and get onto the front 2 rows of this one. Most of the drivers now on their second lap, and they have plenty of time to complete this one. But Nicola, he does not jump back up into the top 4 as he gets shuffled downwards. Now Henry Morris, who came home second last season, he pulls up into 3rd on the timing sheets. Mick Claridge pushed out of the top 5. He's just about done with his latest lap as he comes around through the Abbey, well, not a chicane in this version, but the kink, and down into the final technical section. And Zamaloa, he does not improve back to the pole. Kaki is, he does! Just as I was saying it, Kaki had taken it over, but Zamaloa back up to the pole.
He certainly is, and what a lap time that was, going a 10th quicker than Kochi, who set a very quick lap by himself. Togo Hisada up to 3rd, and not too far now behind Kochi, as Valantius is up to the top of 40.6. The timings are coming down, and Mick Claridge is going to go to the very top of 40.5, and those bankers in the 41s are looking so much slower than expectations now, as it's coming to the mid-40s even.
Wow. Claridge, Valenteus, Zamaloa, Kaki, Hisada, Tixier. I mean, that is a murderer's row right there for your top 6. And I'm trying to think. I think Kaki and Zamaloa are the only 2 of that group that have not won championships in this series out of those first 6. That is amazing. And we are in for a stunning fight as we watch the second lap for Valenteus. So he could still take this back from Mick Claridge up at the top of the timing sheets. He and Mick tend to be pretty close on pace, so I would not put it past the number 1.
This is why you wait towards the end of the session to get a time on the board, and that's exactly what Valenteus has done, because he's waited so long just to get the opportunity to see what the times are that he needs to set, and at the moment he is 0.162 off the pole time, and he's got 20 seconds roughly left to go with this lap, and 20 seconds to see whether he'll be starting from from that pole position or from second place, which is going to have a huge psychological advantage if he is able to leapfrog Claridge and up to the front row, knowing that he is the fastest driver out on that circuit. This is his last opportunity, and he heads around the final corner now and up to the line. Is this going to be the pole time? It's a 40.4, and it is going to be Valenteus up on that pole with a 40.4, an incredible lap time to pull out right at the end of the session, and he's stolen that one away from Mick Claridge.
8 hundredths of a second difference between them as Jack Wells will end his qualifying, must have already had his laps, and time is up anyways. So our grid is now set, but my goodness, it's going to be a fun one. Valenteus going to try and take this one away from Mick Claridge, who he may be our reigning champion, but boy, has he got a challenge on his hands. Here's your starting order. You've got Andreas Valenteus on the pole position, as we mentioned. Mick Claridge going to be starting next to him. Oya Zamaloa, he could spoil the party there from third, or Nikola Kaki, who we know is a fierce fighter, will be P4. Watch out for former champion Togo Hisata starting from 5th place. He's gotten better and better as the years have gone by. He's a real threat. Seb Tixier will be starting in the 6th spot. From there, it's Leo Sequeiro starting from 7th, as Henry Morse will start from P8. Then you've got in row 5, Kevin Verbruggen on the inside, and the top 10 rounded out by Gary Ho. What's the next 10 look like here, Joseph?
It's going to be rows 6 to 10, and it's Laust Olsen in 11th alongside Xavier Sanchez on said 6th row. John Olsen and David Rossi are alongside each other in 13th and 14th, and then Rowley Wallback and then Benjamin J. Soko rounding out the top 8, and the last times in the 41s. Arturas Kundalis is in 17th alongside Jan Stefan, and Josephine Becker is alongside Marco Antonio Lopez Salgado on the 10th row of the grid.
Then in 21st, it is Pablo Hoglar with Isabel Matthews and Tobias Harnvey, along with Alan Graham next to him. Jack Wells starts in the quarter century mark. Robert Plumley in 26. Cam Porter going to be P27 today, followed by Jim Matson in 28th. Tim Aladri will start 29th, and Bjorn Ackerman in the 30th position. A lot of cars to go through, so I'll wrap this one up. Grissinger 31st, Clapper 32nd, Mats Linden P33 with Brandon White in 34th, Bruno 35th, and Mateschitz in the 36th position. Carpentier will start 37th, Mikel Zabla in 38th, Sanchez 39th, and Jorgensen in 40th, with just our last few. Pasquarello 41st, Clapper 42nd, Frege 43rd, and then you see the last of our cars as we are starting to rev those engines. The lights are up, and the green flag is out off the line. It looks like Valenteus is pretty decent, but Togo Hisata with a big jump as he tries to push his way forward, getting up to the top spots, will weave around Kopp's Corner, which was formerly our first corner on this track if you have not been used to this version. But then it's going to really tighten up. It's got to get single file down into the Maggots-Beckett sequence.
Yeah, Maggots-Beckett's very difficult part to go side by side for, and especially in some of these cars. And we've had an incident in the mid-pack, and well, quite a few cars off, in fact, and quite a few cars with nose cones off. That's a huge incident early on, and well, that's what's going to happen when you've got so many cars heading through. You're just going to have something go wrong. Lap 1 of 20, and the drivers are shaking off their rust. And Togo Hisata, well, he's not rusty, and he's ready to fight on the inside of Mick Claridge. He pulls alongside the number 6, and he's going to be on the outside line into the next zone. Of course, not necessarily a braking zone, switching to the outside for what was formerly a tight medium-speed chicane. But Mick Claridge holding on. But the defences that he's put up has meant that Valenteus has managed to build up a gap.
And he'll need that gap for sure. Now, Hisata from 5th to 3rd at the start of this race, and even threatening for 2nd. Oh, but look to the inside. Here comes Zamaloa. Absolutely mugs him coming down into Priory. Not sure that he's got the job done quite yet as they go wheel to wheel. And it's going to switch back into Luffield. Someone in the back just locks up a tiny bit. It may have been Seb Tixier here.
Yeah, Tixier is, well, potentially, he might have had a lockup, but it's still seen him through and holding the position ahead of Verbruggen as Henry Morse tries to fight his way through as well. But Cocky on the inside of Zamaloa into the final corner, but still staying behind into the first. And, well, they stay together, the top 5, I think, or second down to 5th at least. as they head through the first lap, and the second lap begins with all of these drivers feeling as though they all have the pace to be on that podium so far, so expect some moves soon.
Lakaki in 5th position here, just behind Zamaloa, and that's, I think, the problem for Oye is as aggressive as he's being on Togo Hisada, he can open himself up. They're all so close together. It is going to be a chain reaction back down the order as soon as someone at the front of this group makes a move.
Yes, it's well, it could be a domino effect as they head through the corners, and David Rossi is trying to shape up a move on Becker in front of him, and Henry Morse is finally able to apply the pressure and get past Verbruggen and potentially even Tixier in front of him for that 7th place. He's had a poor exit and it allows Henry to maybe pull alongside, but just the straight line speed for Tixier is enough to hold P7.
This is going to be a very different course to what many are used to because there are so few heavy braking zones out here. It's a lot of fast corners in this version. That's going to make passing really at a premium. Henry Morse still kind of stuck in here. As sounds like we might have a replay on some of these opening incidents. So Jem Matson, I did see that car was involved in some form or fashion, and it looks like, unfortunately, Matson just kind of caught up innocently as a car gets, I think, into the back of that 35.
Yeah, it looks like it. And, well, there was a spin further down the field that just caused the chain reaction of drivers going wide and hitting the drivers involved in the incident further up. And it was a chain reaction that was unfortunate for a number of the cars here today. And it's seen at the end of quite a few of their campaigns in terms of racing further up the field. But lap 3 of 20 at the moment, and the leader has managed to build up a gap of 1.7 seconds, a huge margin. But this fight just looks like it's starting to build. I think they're all settling into the race now and starting to seek opportunities out.
Yeah, and Mick is 0.2 of a second slower that last lap, which might not sound like much, but that will add up quickly. He's going to have to fight back and really try to stop the bleeding up to Valenteus there in P1. We're continuing to follow Nicola Kaki. This is Leo Sequeiro just behind him in the number 9. But as much as he's got a slipstream here through the Abbey Kink, it's just not going to be enough to get him close enough here by the time they come down under bridge and into Priory. Wonder if we'll see maybe 2 different types of drivers out here, though, Joseph, because, like I said, very fast through much of the lap, but this is such a slow section. Anybody who's got a car that's good in low-speed corners will really thrive here.
Yeah, they've prepared themselves for the straights and for the mid-speed corners just because of the nature of this historic circuit and the historic layout of the circuit specifically. But into the slower speed corners is where the difference is really made, as Audrius Valenteus is going to set the fastest lap of 40.6, which would have been a good lap in qualifying, let alone the race, as he stretches out his gap at the top to 2.2 seconds and continues his advantage. We've got a replay here of some of the action that happened further down the field. Donald Peake then in the 42 is going for a move and just is gonna, well, there's gonna be a big incident there, and I think he's just been caught unawares.
Yeah, I think the 35 was the one trying to go for a move, and Don, unfortunately, just in the wrong place at the wrong time as the cars piled into the side of him. So that set him backwards, and I think, it looks like he is still running right now, so at least he was able to get back onto the track and keep going. Toga Hisada still behind Mick Claridge. Bad news for fans of Mick Claridge. Last lap was a half second slower than Valenteus. He is really losing out now as Audrius just continues to put down impressive times up at the front. Koundalis, not used to seeing this car, all the way down in 14th. Usually he's up in the top 5, maybe even fighting for podiums, but Arturis is working on the ever-famous Xavier Sanchez, the streamer Heike 360, and the 7 car is going to put up enough of events as he's going to hold him back into Priory.
Yes, he is, and well, he's going to know that how quick Koundalis is. He's going to know the pedigree of the Lithuanian driver, and he's going to know that staying ahead is going to ultimately benefit him, because it could also slingshot him through. If Kundalis is able to get the momentum up where not only can he get past Sanchez, he can get past Olsen too, he can be in a very good position. Bjorn Ackermann then is going through in 29 and having a fight over these few positions at the further down points of the field. He's in 26th at the moment. 25th is the position currently being fought over, but Tovar and Klapper on the back of him and might get the opportunity to make a move soon. Slightly off of the circuit then for the car in behind, and so that's going to break their momentum into Kops and into the first corner once again. Ackermann still chasing ahead, but at the moment I think they'll be looking more in their mirrors than up at the car in front.
Yeah, Clapper really, leading this quartet, essentially dealing with a lot of pressure. We're used to the Clappers, though, trying to fight from the back of the field and working with their way forward. So it'll be interesting to see him try and play defense. Bjorn Ackermann, though, following him nicely, although he gets a wheel off into the grass. Somehow he gets away with it. Jason Clapper in the back of it, trying to pass on Tovar. Tovar does not defend. He'll leave the door open, although he breaks deep up into Stowe. And it's all for naught, as there goes Jason up into 27th.
Yes, up into 27th he goes, and that is a good move in the end. And, well, these two are going to keep fighting away, I think, further down the field. It feels like even when you're further down the field, even when you've not had the greatest of days, it's still all about the glory of the positions higher up. And, of course, every single position matters. Further up the field, though, it's all about the points. And these drivers will be even more desperate to get past and stay ahead. Oya Zamaloa is one of those, and he's shaping a move up on Togo Hisada, of course, last season's even F2 champion, and a very, very deserving one. And all these drivers were willing him on, but now when they're out on the circuit, it's well, they just lose those relationships. It becomes a lot more business.
Yeah, and that's what I love, is this is a very close-knit community, but these are fierce fighters. There's no quarter given nor taken out there. They basically will take it all the way up to the edge, but they'll be able to come away smiling afterwards. But once they're in the car, don't expect any of them to let up. Mick Claridge, though, has finally put down a legitimate lap, as we're on lap 6. I had noticed that he did not have a best time registered, and that only happens when you haven't had a lap that didn't have an incident marked for your car. So Claridge has been a little bit sloppy out there, but maybe it sounds like he's cleaned it up now as Hisada continues to chase him, but the gap ahead still grows. It's now up to 3 seconds now to the number 1 car.
Yeah, it's a very, very good gap to have eked out, and last time's champion is wanting to chase and come out ahead. And he'll feel now as though potentially he'll start to think more about second place as a championship could be contested, as in the background there is a car going very, very wide, just allowing them through, and that is exactly what they would have wanted to see, the driver getting out of the way very quickly. And this is what happens when you come through and lap people. It can get a little bit hairy, but that was pretty nicely navigated.
I love this too. We've got the current reigning Lotus 49 champion in Mick, and the current reigning Lotus 79 champion, and Togo is behind them. Leo Sequeiro in a massive accident. Thankfully, those tires are non-corporeal here, and he's going to try and pull himself out of the way. But he and I think, that was Seb Tixier. Oh, both major players here taking out what looks like maybe a tangle coming down the main old pit straight.
Yeah, a little bit of miscommunication, I think, between the two, and it sees them both surely out of this race. And I think one of them went to the outside, the other one went and tried to defend to the outside, and that was that in terms of the fight, and they will drop now to the back of the field and surely be retired from this session. I know that Tixier had a couple of wheels off, so he is definitely out. Togo Hisada still chasing Claridge, though, and as you say, 49 and 79 champion looking to come together and looking to have a fight here around this Silverstone circuit. Hisada actually took his championship at the Silverstone circuit, so he's looking to run it back.
So we got another look at that one, and I'm glad that we'll be able to get a closer look at this to kind of see it. And it looks like there's already some damage on the nose of the car ahead. Okay, so that is a lapped car. And that's what happened. So that just clipped Sequeiro into the spin, and Tixier just couldn't do anything to avoid in this situation. And great heads up by Leo. to know that he's on the racing line. It's a bad place to be, and since he's right at the edge of the track, just kind of pull it off and make sure that makes it plenty safe for those behind approaching. In the meantime, back to Hisada, and like I was saying before my point got a little bit interrupted, the current reigning Lotus 79 champion Togo Hisada showing that he's lost no speed over here in the 49s. And I'm pretty sure there are precious few drivers that have championships in both of these cars. They are so dramatically different from one another.
They very much are, and to keep the pace up is a testament to the ability of the drivers who are able to do so, and Togo Hisada is one of them, who's just able to keep himself consistent right up the very top, as regardless of what he is racing, and he's getting very close to the back of Mick Claridge right now, as we're going to get another angle of the incident. This was Seb Tixier's point of view, the driver who was the car behind, and well, that's not much that he could have done about that one. Once again, there's been a few drivers here today that have just been caught in incidents where they've sort of been the passenger, and Seb Tixier there, not much he could have done there.
Yeah, it happened so fast. It's understandable that both of them got caught out in the moment. Back to Hisada once again, still stuck in this third position. And with these cars where they are, if all of these drivers are going to be racing all season, this could be a real defining moment. You need to try and lay down the marker as Xavier Sanchez in a real fight, but it looks like he got snookered there as the 31 of Becker is able to get underneath, and Josephine isn't completely done taking that position away. She's in the orange, blue, and white car, while Sanchez in the sort of space-themed machine is able to outgun her off of Luffield. Nice run. Oh, we got a spinner ahead as the 17 thankfully pulls off the racing line.
Yeah, Lars Dawson there is just, well, he's spun out of the final corner, and that can happen. The curbs here are harsh, and that is exactly, I think, what has caught Lars Dawson. Hopefully we'll be able to catch a replay of the Danish driver as he comes back onto the circuit now, and that is going to be race ruining. That's going to be race ruining damage for the 17, so very disappointing there, and it can just show that one incident can ruin your whole race. This is the replay then. Is it going to be a curbing issue? I'm not actually sure. It's just going to be a slide out of the final one, and maybe a downshift, something along those lines, but that's going to be the nose cone off.
Yeah. Unfortunately, the something rotten in the state of Denmark is a spun car with a lot of damage on the nose. So, as Togo Hisada still remains sandwiched between Claridge and Zamaloa. Let's not forget that Kaki is still there behind them as well. In fact, he's going to try and make a move, and that's going to be P4. So good thing I pointed that number 4 car out. He has now managed to demote Oye. Now, checking back in, I was going to say, that's not Santiago, I'm pretty sure. Cam Porter, currently running in 27th, a very familiar face, so that's why I knew that was not quite the right driver.
Yeah, Cam Porter, of course, a regular in these series, and it's always great to see the points of views of the drivers, as, well, it's just, you get to see their real, true reaction to the incidents. The shells of people that they have in those cars sometimes can seem a bit lifeless. So if Cam Porter gets involved in something, maybe a good overtake, then we can see his true, raw reaction to it. But at the moment, he's locked in, he's focused, and, well, he is not doing badly at the moment, down in 27th place. Kevin Verbruggen doing better, though, up in 7th, and he's chasing Henry Morse as, well, Morse was able to catch up to Verbruggen and actually build that gap. Verbruggen has been able to reel it back in, and he's been able to catch up, and I'm sure if we were watching with Cam Porter at the start, it would have been nervy times, as that's going to be a move for second place. Togo Hisada around the outside, and Mick Claridge just trying to go below him, just trying to get the entry, maybe slightly compromised so he can set his exit up right, but it hasn't worked, and Togo Hisada up to second.
Car got pretty loose. I think that helped out Togo wonderfully. Now he's got the track position. Is he able to run away? It's going to be a big ask to cut down 5 seconds in half the race time on Valenteus, but he's not running away as it sits right now. Mick Claridge showing himself a little bit down into bridge. Nothing doing there. So he may have been overtaken, but he's very quickly back on the ball. But look out behind. You can see Kaki is ready to pick up the pieces.
exits. And, well, this is what happens. You mentioned this earlier, in fact, the domino effect, that can come out of it. And, well, at the moment, Cocky is right on the back of Mick Claridge, who's trying to get a move on and trying to get past Togo Hisada. Now, this could be very important for the Englishman's race if he's able to get through the 3. First corner, Copse Corner, is it's not notoriously the easiest place to overtake, but Mick Claridge is going to get it done anyway. That's a very strong move, and he's up into that second place once again. Togo Hisada deciding to back out in the end. He thought about pulling alongside, but instead just decided that that is not the opportunity that he wanted to take. That's not the risk he wanted to take with about half the race distance to go.
Can't say that Mick Claridge lacks bravery. That was impressive stuff coming through Copse. More lap traffic in front of them. A number of cars really involved in that opening incident has meant, and a big field on top of it, has meant that we have caught a number of cars already early in this race. We saw Cam Porter with his nose cone damage. That was from that opening incident, we understand. Meanwhile, on board was Zamaloa, coming up into the Vale chicane and then switching back into club. The lap car tries to stay out of the way, but it does look like it has opened things up slightly. Thought there was an opportunity for Togo to fight back, but it's not going to work this time.
Not on this occasion, and might be able to set it up for the next one as they're just getting the turning down the hill. And that's one of those that you don't see on the modern circuit, as Togo is actually going to run a little bit wide. And this could be Cocky's opportunity on the inside line. It certainly is going to be, and Togo Hisada's still going to try and keep a wheel in, but that's going to compromise his entry to the next corner, and Zamaloa is going to get the opportunity to sweep through on the outside line. He doesn't take it, as he's going to again compromise his entry for the exit. But Togo Hisada, sensing that, spotting the opportunity that he'd opened up for Zamaloa, and he's just decided to, you know, back out of any sort of potential opportunity for an overtake.
Hisada may be on the back foot for the first time this race. He was quick at the start. Maybe the car going away from him a little bit. Now that we're into the second half of it, Zamaloa hot on his heels. Cocky making some great moves. He got by Oye. He's gotten by Togo. Can he also go past Mick Claridge and move up to P2?
He's going to certainly try to, and well, he's got the momentum now. He's made his way past Hisada, and he might make his way up to Claridge soon, but he's 6/10 back, so it's going to have to be a move that he sets up, maybe over one lap, maybe over two, and at the moment he is not necessarily looking in the best position to make that overtake. He's about setting the identical lap times as, well, they're going to head on 9 laps to go then. And it's going to be Valentius still in the lead of this one. He's controlled that pace, and well, we've barely mentioned him, but that's because of how dominant the Ukrainian driver has been. And 6/10 up, and there's a huge mistake. But, well, he's managed to play that one off well. He's lost a couple of seconds, but the margin he'd built up, it's allowed him to have mistakes like that.
And it's rare that you see mistakes like that out of Audrius. Wow. I mean, I was not expecting us to cut to that car and catch one of those rare moments. And like you said, it was very advantageous of him to have built up the gap that he had. I was about to remark, too, before we came to that I'm kind of surprised with it being so close between he and Mick in qualifying that he's had this great of an advantage in the race pace itself.
It's coming down, I think, to the momentum switches between the drivers, and I think it comes down to he was able to set himself up well out of the first few laps, and from there he's just been able to control the pace. Mick Claridge just had to think about the likes of Togo Hisada and now Cocky as they're getting very, very close with the cars getting lapped, and they're going to get through in the end, but that was a slightly nervy moment through the medium speed chicane, and we may have a potential move on as Togo Hisada is potentially going to be overtaken by Zamaloa, and Cocky's down there, and that is going to be Togo round.
Togo made his way through as Zamaloa making contact, I think, with Nicola Cocky. I believe was the two. A lot of very light-colored cars in that group. Was difficult to try and tell them apart, but yeah, so that is unfortunately sent Zamaloa down to 8th position. Verbruggen gets promoted to 5th, Gary Ho into 7th.
Yes, and that's going to be it's a great opportunity for the like to Gary Ho, but we're going to get the replay here of what happened exactly to Zamaloa. Just looking on the inside, and I think just a little bit of wheel rubbing that sent them both spinning around, and that is going to cost Zamaloa's race massively, as well as the driver who spotted it instantly and ran wide. He's going to have lost a lot of time, but definitely not as much time as he would have if he'd have kept on that line.
Yeah, I think making perhaps a smart decision, just trying to avoid getting caught up in that accident. It may have been a lapped car that was trying to find his way through that incident. Meanwhile, back with Bjorn Ackerman, still on the lead lap, but I'm starting to wonder if they will come the checkered flag, because again, Valente is setting amazing laps up at the front and has already gobbled his way past the last, I'd say, 4 or 5 cars towards the end of the field. Bjorn Ackerman fighting with Sanchez there just in front of him in the number 28 machine as they once again slow down, switching back and forth. And there's Cam Porter once again, just ahead in the 22. He's chasing on Tovar.
He is, and he's going to try. And he's going to try and see if he can make his way through, and he gets a good run out of the final corner, but I don't think it's going to be enough to catch up. And that's the thing with these cars. The slipstream is not necessarily powerful. You have to wait for a mistake, and there was a mistake there that sees Ackerman through and into 26th place. And, well, he would have been waiting for that mistake for a while, I think, and he was able to take the opportunity, make his way through, and move up to 26th. And now set his sights on 25th without any real time loss. Jason Clapper is in that 20th place, and he's going to get through on Tobias Arnvin.
Up to P20 for him, and back to Cam Porter once more. Bjorn Ackerman has already, as we saw, dispatched Sanchez and set his sights forward. Up to Cam Porter now for a top 25 maybe. Tovar may be in his sights, but Cam is going to have chameleon eyes watching forwards and backwards.
Yes, he is. This is the issue with racing some of these cars, is you can feel a little bit squeezed, and this goes for any racing in general, where you just feel as though you can be attacked from behind at the same time as you go forward. Any overtakes that you make might allow somebody else, or any overtakes you even attempt to make might allow somebody else in and might allow them to try to make their move through. And Cam Porter at the moment is right on the back of Tovar, and still trying to defend from Ackerman, who has that momentum from the overtake that he made before and tried to go around the outside, but no such luck for him for the time being. Cam Porter still in that 25th, but is this going to be the run that Ackerman wanted? Not quite. He got a better run out of the corner, and actually Cam Porter, slightly worse run, has benefited him as Ackerman had to adjust slightly so he didn't go into the back of the 22, and at the moment just staying in position.
Yeah, it got awful close there, and Ackerman not necessarily using the chrome horn, but maybe the unicorn horn there for a brief moment to try and get him out of the way. Cam taking a big look, and unfortunately not able to squeeze by through the Maggots sequence of Maggots, Beckett's, and into Chapel. This is where they've got to line up that exit of Chapel, though, on to the hangar straight, and a big old slide from Bjorn Ackerman means he's no longer in the hunt to try and take that position. Once again, able to relax for a brief moment, Cam Porter looking forward on David Andre Tovar, and Tovar shuts the door up into Stowe.
Yes, he does, and well, it's still about trying to sense that opportunity, still about trying to create that gap, and still about trying to force a mistake out of the driver in front of you. Cam Porter running slightly wide, but allowing himself to open up the corner exit and recover from that slight, tiny mistake. But it's those tiny mistakes that can have a huge amount of difference throughout the course of a race, where that'll lose you a tenth of a second. That means that the driver behind can gain a tenth of a second. It builds the pressure up, and then that could see you drop back, and that is the difference between some of these drivers here today, because I think we're going to be getting a lot of them split by just tenths, just hundredths by the end.
Yeah, with so many out on track, you won't be shy of cars coming across the line come the end of this one. Josephine Becker versus Xavier Sanchez, as the German driver sizes up the outside coming into Stowe. That is possible to make that work, and indeed she does. Oh, well, she does for a brief moment. Back through with the shorter distance. It looks like Sanchez is not going to give it up easily. Becker has the inside line, though, into Vale, and now the job is done up to 11th.
It certainly is, and well, that's going to be potentially cocky under pressure from Togo Hisada, who goes through and actually makes that move. So, well, those two fighting away, and it's going to be cocky still on that inside line, and he does retake third place for the time being. 4 and 3 fighting over third and fourth, and at the moment it's 4 in the case of cocky ahead of Togo Hisada in the 3. And these two still will be fighting away throughout the course of this race. They've both had very, very strong pace, but not quite as strong pace as the top two, which is why, of course, they are the top two. They've demonstrated it in the qualifying and in the race as Cam Porter is under pressure. Ackerman has the run, and, well, he's had a slight slide out of the exit. That means that Cam Porter has free rein to go for a run on Tovar, but still remains in behind Tovar. Just about enough pace to stay in.
Bjorn seems to like a bit of a loose car. We've seen a number of sideways moments from him, but got to watch out. That can overheat the tires in these things. Cam Porter nearly into the gearbox of Tovar in front of him. Doesn't open the door for Bjorn Ackerman, mercifully, but he's going to have to try and get by sooner rather than later, I get the feeling, because the way that Bjorn Ackerman, despite his little slip-ups here and there, very quickly catches him up. It seems like he's the faster car.
It certainly does, and that was the difference when he was able actually originally to get the move done for that 26th place and to close up. He was able to close up within about 3 corners just because of how loose that. He was just able to throw it up. Over, and Porter and Ackerman both go through, so a slight mistake, and that was the mistake that Porter was waiting for. But it's allowed not just him, but Ackerman through too, so the pressure remains on.
But not on Tovar. Unfortunately, down to 26 with that loss. And Porter perhaps lacking a little bit of straight line speed without the aerodynamics on that nose is going to have his work cut out for him. His straight line speed here makes a huge difference. Back to Henry Morse here in 6. Kevin Verbruggen up ahead. And, oh, that is, interestingly, they've caught Hisada and Cocky. I was going to remark a little bit earlier that 3rd and 4th have dropped away from Claridge. Not only have they dropped away, but they're being run down. And unfortunately for Togo Hisada, going wide at Copse, loses him 2, maybe 3 positions.
Yeah, it does. 6th place now for the Japanese driver. And Henry Morse and Kevin Verbruggen, ever so suddenly, are back in the fight for this podium position. Verbruggen now 1.2 behind at Cocky, and well, Henry Morse following him through. Togo Hisada in there as well, as well, that's going to be a car being lapped in the foreground, which might allow the chance for these drivers to close right back in, and indeed it does. Kevin Verbruggen has managed to just about get to about a second behind, and this could still be on. 3 laps to go then, and it feels like this might end up being a 4-car fight for this final podium spot.
Certainly has been shaping up that way, but Nicola used that little mistake from Togo to great effect. Look at the distance he's got between himself and Verbruggen. It all depends on whether or not Kevin has the pace to run him down now that there's nothing between himself and the Italian.
Yes, there is absolutely nothing between them. There's about 0.7 of a second splitting the two, and it feels like Verbruggen has the momentum to maybe catch right in, and Henry Morse and Togo Hisada will be pushing Verbruggen right up to the line. Any mistakes will be punished instantly and heavily, and it'll see them drop 2 positions, maybe even 3 if it's a big mistake. Fastest lap, by the way, going to Valentius as he continues to demonstrate his dominance over the field. It's around the final corner, then Henry Morse pulls to that outside, and well, he's not able to, well, he's able actually to defend ahead of the cars in behind, but it just feels like this moment is an important one in the race. 2 laps to go. Kevin for potentially just a little bit as he's trying to defend from Henry Morse. He feels as though this podium is deservedly his, but Morse still chasing, still creating those opportunities, just hasn't taken one yet.
Yeah, and I kind of wondered if there was a cut course penalty there for Verbruggen because he was way far to the inside of Maggots, but looks like he managed to avoid that as he hasn't slowed down yet. Still an attempt from Henry Morse. This is not what Kevin needs right now. Last 2 laps, he was 1/10 of a second quicker than Cocky, so it seems like he has the pace, but the more he's having to play defense and go offline, the more he's going to lose that opportunity to fight for a podium.
It's well, it's all about them fighting internally and then thinking about the bigger picture of this race, but I think all of these drivers think they can potentially go quicker as Togo Hisada pulls to that inside on Henry Morse. Can he make his way through? No, because Morse was able to get the exit on, and it's still going to be him in the foreground as there's a slide, and that's going to cost both of them, and that's potentially, surely going to be damage for Morse at least.
Oh, yeah, they hit wheel to wheel, and yes, Togo Hisada cannot get the car to turn in properly down at Brooklands there. Spins around, and that's going to allow Oye Zamaloa to get back into it, or Henry Morse, excuse me, who is fighting with Verbruggen now in fourth and running away from both of them. But unfortunately for him, if he was hoping to try and catch Kaki to fight for that podium position, he is still half a second away with the last lap of the race on our hands. Gary Ho versus Oye Zamaloa. Gary with his motion rig that we'll see frequently here. Getting not as much with this being a rather flat track, but finds himself still having a lot of G-forces back and forth as you whip through these fast corners. Back up to our leader, Audrius Valenteys. You said we didn't see a whole lot of him. I get the sense he prefers it that way.
Yeah, it certainly feels like he does, and when we don't see a lot of a driver, that generally means they've had a good race, especially if they're the driver in that first place. One mistake throughout the entire course of the 22 timed laps that he would have set around this circuit over the last hour or so, and well, that mistake only cost him about 2 seconds. Everything else has been absolutely pinpoint perfect, and he's setting lap times that would have still seen him on pole position in qualifying. That is the advantage that the number one has, and this could be maybe a changing of the guards. Maybe Mick Claridge won't be the driver taking the title home. It could go to the Ukrainian.
Indeed, victory in round one this season goes to Audrius Valenteys, another driver that's taken multiple wins. He celebrates with a little bit of spectacular crashing as Mick Claridge will cross the line and do likewise, enjoying the fun, although he manages to keep the car clean, while Nikola Kaki will come home with a podium just 4/10 ahead of Verbruggen, who I still think had a great race out there today. Gary Ho getting to sixth place. Henry Morse with the top five as well. Disappointment for Togo Hisada, though. My goodness. Only eighth today after a phenomenal start where he passed two cars in the first lap.
Yes, a great start there, and it was a very intriguing race. That fight for that third place went down to the wire, and it feels like it was one of those fights that you just don't want to end. You wanted to keep going all race long, and well, further than all race long. It felt like there could have been a little bit more to go, as that was Jason Clapper still chasing Marco Antonio Lopez Salgado and Cam Porter here on the back of Tobias Harnby for this P23. It looks like Harnby might be able to hold on to it, but this could still come down to the wire as Cam Porter is still going for that inside line.
Yeah, just didn't quite have the speed to get past him. Sanchez coming home in 27th today. Last car on the lead lap going to be Carpentier. 30 cars. That's more than I thought, honestly, that would complete every lap of the race. A number of those at the back did get lapped in the end with Audrius's amazing speed up at the front. All right, let's go through our finishing order for today's event. And as we said, Valenteys comes away our winner in the end. Mick Claridge will have to settle for second best where he started, but at least kept him within those 7 seconds after we saw a mistake from Valenteys. Nikola Kaki coming home in third today with an epic battle for that spot. Kevin Verbruggen gets P4, Henry Morrison fifth, and Gary Ho P6. Oye Zamaloa was seventh today, followed by Togo Hisada, only eighth. Arturas Kundalis moved his way forward up to ninth in the end. And then rounding out the top 10, Joseph, we've got John Olsen.
Certainly do, and it was a top 10 that chopped and changed throughout the course of the race. Josephine Becker even coming home in 11th place ahead of Xavier Sanchez. Benjamin Shoko in 13th, and David Rossi in 14th. Back to spots away with 16th going to Pablo Rodriguez Yogla, Isabel P. Matthews, Robert Plumley, Marco Antonio Lopez Salgado, and Jason Clapper will round out the top 20.
From there, 21st went to Mikhail Zabala, Kurt Clapper, Tobias Arnvik, Cam Porter in 24th. You've got Bjorn Ackerman in the quarter century mark today. David Andre Tovar unfortunately lost a couple spots late in the race. He'll settle for 26th. Andre Sanchez will be in 27th. Santiago Frega, P28 for him, and Andre Bruto in 29th. And as I mentioned, Yannis Carpentier was 30th and last on the lead lap. 31st went to Mats Linden with Mateschitz in the 36th position, or 32nd position. Don Peak finishing 33rd. Brandon White 34th. Paris Squiello in 35th, and Grissinger 36th. Then it's Laus Olsen P37, Alan Graham 38th. Jorgensen up to 39th, but 7 laps down, getting caught up in that opening wreck. Jack Wells in 40th. And from there on down, all DNFs. Tim Aladri, Tixier, Sequeiro, Madsen, Kuhn, and Stefan rounding out the field. Let's see. It looks like we've got third place finisher Nicola Kaki ready to chat with us. Let's see how he felt about that battle out on track, because my goodness, Nicola, you had about 5 cars involved at some times. It looked like a real handful.
Yeah. Hi guys. It was handful. It was awesome. It was great. It was every good words that you can think of, and it just great. When you have this kind of races. Yeah, we had a little contact with Oyer. I did not see him at all on the inside, and we had a contact. But apart from this, it was just like super fair, super hard, super cruel fighting. But it's the best thing that you can do with the race car.
Absolutely. I know this is what you guys live for, to have these awesome chopping races back and forth. But coming away with a podium to start it out, considering the amount of legendary drivers that you guys had in the top 10 at the start of this race, that's got to feel pretty good.
Yeah, dude, it was before the race, I was thinking if I got top 5 with this grid, I think I will get, I don't know, my first tattoo ever or something like that. I have to celebrate, and not only a top 5, but I was able to get a podium. So it was, I don't know, maybe I'm dreaming, but it feels pretty real to me. So I'm so happy to be able to fight with them, even more than to get a podium. I'm so happy to see Togo back again, and Audrey's back again. Those guys are just wicked, and we managed to keep Mick a little bit longer. Maybe will not be as present as last season, but it's just great to see all this fast guy committing to this car, which is not very common, which is not very famous inside the iRacing thing, but it's so great. It's just like you cannot get much better than this.
Absolutely. Well, unless we're somehow sharing a dream, I can assure you this is real, and congratulations on the podium.
Thank you guys, and I just want to say very good welcome to Audrius. We got the guy back, and I don't know if Togo will stick with us a little longer, because now it's from the he's coming back to the 79, but it was so great to have him back, and see you guys, and see you next week. Bye.
Nick Kaki, your third place finisher, was beat by P2 Mick Claridge. I understand that Joseph has caught up with him.
Yeah, Mick, do you want to just talk us through that race, because it was one of those where it felt very, very interesting. It felt under pressure for the majority of it.
That was massive pressure. Yeah, massive pressure. It was massive pressure watching Aldris disappear into the distance. No, it was great fun having Togo back, and I have to apologise. I did apologise to him in the chat. When he got the run down the hanger straight there, I moved over on him, and it was a bit too aggressive for me. I always do that move. I always force the guy on the outside, but yeah, I don't normally do it that aggressive. So yeah, apologies to him. But yeah, it was a crazy race, and Togo was so much better than me on the brakes, and I think I was better than him coming out the corners. So when he got round me, I knew I'd have to get him pretty quick. Just try and stay with him as much as I could, and then go for it on an exit of a corner. So yeah, it was a good race. Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah, very, very good. And well, I mean, there was a lot of pressure at certain points of the race from certain different drivers. Did you ever feel as though your podium status was ever under threat?
Yeah, because I'm not very good here, and I normally wreck when I'm under pressure at this place. I've done it so many times. So I thought, yeah, I mean, and things like these days because I'm in VR and stuff, and I'm getting older. When Togo's next to me, I'm looking to the side. I'm thinking, is he there? What happened to him? Has he gone up in the air? Is he behind me still? So I get that brain fade moment a lot more these days. So yeah, I don't really like the track, to be honest with you. It's a tough one for me. I like the Mickey Mouse tracks. I like Lime Rock and Summit Point and Barber and places like that. I normally do better. So yeah, I was feeling it out there.
Well, I mean, of course, having a look at the rest of the season as a whole, as a picture, how much of the championship do you think you're planning on competing in?
Oh, do you know what? I'm not really sure if I can do even half of it this season. I've got so much real life stuff going on this season, so hopefully I'll just get to the ones that I really want to. But yeah, things are going to get in the way this season.
Of course, iRacing should, or it feels like it would always want to take priority, but unfortunately I do understand. Is there anybody that you would like to thank before we let you go?
Yeah, I'm gonna thank a lot of the guys in the community. You've got Michelle Dudignon, Rob Olenek, Toppy Kortenemi, Kevin Verbruggen, who else? Michelle, I mentioned Michelle, Seb, and there's a couple of others who all contributed to this week's setup I used. So thank you, guys.
Dreamwork always makes the teamwork, or teamwork always makes the dream work, even. It's the other way around, but yeah, thanks very much for joining us today, and well, congratulations on your P2.
Yeah, cheers, mate.
Well, that's going to close us out for today. So we, of course, want to give a big thank you to the community for bringing us back for another season of coverage. And also, thank you to the team today, Joseph, Christian, and Dougie. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a moment here on GSRC. And our next race is going to be at VIR. That'll be September 27th at 9:30 a.m. Eastern. I love that they're heading there. It's one of my favorites on the sim. And up next on our channel this afternoon, we've got IMSA Vintage Series going to Sebring. That'll be at 1 p.m. Eastern. Be sure to check out our other broadcasts that you see listed on the screen. But until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.
This is iRacing.